crack one open, though, huh?
I know, I didn't crack it too early, did I?
No, hell no. No, we're
hey,
rolling.
Cheers to you.
Hey, cheers. Appreciate it, Mike. Cheers. Yes, sir. Stonies. Bada bing, bada boom.
MCM Studios.
Collab.
That hits.
Oh, a nice
It sure
classic premium Pilsner.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Brewed, where's the case? Barley, hops, water. That's it.
Fastest growing beer in Western Pennsylvania right
Really?
now.
Mm-hmm.
Brewed in
That's
Latrobe,
really
PA.
Wow.
Ian's doing some big things with the marketing.
Check it out, stoniesbeer.com. Well, this is episode 33 of the MVP.
Shut up.
Yeah.
We're getting old.
No, this isn't episode 33.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ's number, bro. It's Larry Bird.
So, the woman that I'm with now, her birthday is May 22nd, right? My birthday is June 11th, and we just made the correlation that 11 plus 22 is 33. And now you're telling me that we're on the 33rd podcast. And the number 123 is prevalent in my life daily. It's not like once a week. It's every day. It's on everything. It'll be on someone's shirt. It'll be on the clock. It'll be in my car. It'll be like the price tag on something. I'll be like, what is going on? Like 1, 2, and then I told you we just went away, and the code to get into the place we went away was 1213.
Wow.
And I was like, man, and that was just one thing of I would say at least the past 6 months I've been seeing that number. And here's what's crazy is when I originally saw that number was like 10 years ago, and I started seeing it all the time. And 123 was when I got into my car accident that eventually changed my whole life and was the reason why I opened this recording studio.
Wow.
And it happened January 1st, the same year that the Steelers beat the Cardinals in the Super Bowl. I watched that in the hospital. I watched that catch to Santonio Holmes in my bed with my leg up like this.
Oh, I might have re-broke my
what
leg.
The hell? And it was the week where, like, you know, the last 2 weeks where I was like kind of healing, and so I had already had my surgery, and it was nice because I'm at Mercy, so I'm like, the Boulevard of the Allies is right there, right? And so I get to look out the window, get to watch the game, and dude, he made that catch, and I swear, I almost like walked on water. I was like, I can't even walk, but I'm about to walk now, you know? So that was
like
really
he
weird.
He healed me.
That makes this even more
Very
special
special.
episode then.
Actually,
episode
thank you.
33.
Thank you.
We've got Mike Hitt, owner
me.
of MCM Studios here in Pittsburgh. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do day to day?
Yeah, day to day. Wow. I mean, I run around like a chicken with its head cut off, right? Isn't that what every small business owner really does, right?
Right.
Yes.
Try to figure out the next thing you want to do. But I've got that probably like under control, like more than I ever have. But day to day, so I record clients in the studio. Like, of course, Josh has been here for that many times. Shout out Ev. Like, Ev records here, Ev Malone. And
Old guest.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Get him on again.
Yeah,
But-
great guest. And so we do the recording. I'm hands-on with the artists. And like I said, I've been in this location 13 years. I've been doing this like over 20 years, like just recording people and using Pro Tools and writing songs and making beats and coaching. And really the coaching has now taken on a huge form of my day-to-day because I've realized that I've kind of being in the studio is great, but now I've just acquired so much knowledge by being in the studio 5-6 days a week over a decade that you get information that you're like, people need this information,
right?
That are just starting. So now, like during the week, I'll like coach artists. Like I'll have coaching calls, like one-on-one, FaceTimes, whatever. And they might just be starting out. They might be in the middle of their career, or they might be kind of a little more advanced. Like I always say, every artist is like, in anything, every athlete, every anything is like 0 to 100, right? And 100 would be like Michael Jordan, it'd be Michael Jackson, it'd be Mike Tyson, it'd be like at the top of the pops, right? And then like 0 would be like their dad just decided to get them into basketball or boxing or singing, right?
Yep.
And so like every person's kind of on this spectrum. And so I just kind of help them like keep the pieces together and move them along the line. You know, if you leave the studio with me or you get off the phone with me and you were 10 out of 100 and then we get off the phone and now you're like 12 and a half out of 100, you know, I did my job.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I was saying about the new artist what I was working with is that's what I was trying to tell him, you know, is just that, you know, it's just a process, you know, and so just I always tell artists, put this project out and make another project and make another song and do a couple shows and social media. I mean, God bless God, I was able to like exist in a time where social media never existed. Like I had a kid in here the other day, young kid, 18, 19, and he's like, so what YouTube videos did you watch to learn how to like record and do all this? And I was like, there was no YouTube when I learned how to do this. And he was like, what? He was like, so you raw dogged Pro Tools and got this good at it. And I was like, that's what you had to do. Like, you know, and I would just have people over my house and record them. And I record myself and you know, just move up different computers. And now it's like all this time that I've been doing this, you know, it's funny you say my day to day. It's like, my day-to-day, it was so many days now that feel like it all happened in like the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's something else I try to like coach artists on, is just that don't waste today or tomorrow. Like wake up and do that podcast or write a song, or like, you know, at least just figure out who's going to print your t-shirts, or figure out when you want to get in the studio next. Like every day you need to make a little bit of progress, because it's all about the accumulation over the year, right? And you both know this more than anybody, is like, okay, like you're on your 33rd podcast, you know, but there's someone out there who's like, you know, man, how's my first podcast going to go? Are these mics okay? I wonder if my guest is going to like it. I wonder if my family's going to. And it's like, you haven't even shot a podcast yet.
Yeah, screw it. You just got to do it. Like
just
you
shoot 10 of them.
got to do it. Yeah, and like you said, like the numbers and like, truthfully, it's like the law of averages. Like you need to do things so many times to eventually progress, get better, like establish a base. And unfortunately, there's a lot of instances where people just don't build up that number, you know,
that momentum. Yeah. And to their right, it is scary.
Yeah.
You know, like, because like you don't like, failure is scary for a human being. Like not being liked is scary for a human being.
I was like worried that was going to fall out, but I was like looking at, no, I saw we're good.
You know, just like the idea that it's not going to work. I mean, you just have to like detach from the results, and that's like really hard, even for someone who I consider myself experienced in being like, hey, I'm gonna do it, and if it works, it doesn't, but I still have to fight back that like that voice who's like trying to get me not to do it,
right,
whatever it is.
Yeah,
you know. And so I just tell them, like, just create that momentum, keep going, like start.
Bro, take me through the initial, like, I mean, you brought it up a little bit with like how this got started. Now I'm super interested. Like it's tied into the Steelers. I mean, how does this podcast come to be after a car accident, from what you said?
Yes. So,
or not this podcast, the studio. I'm sorry. Thinking podcast in my head.
Podcast
how this podcast is crazy, man. This episode right now.
So I had always recorded. This like passion started when I was young, like 13 years old, and I was DJing at 14, like literally at house parties, DJing, getting paid by the school events, and like music itself, I just like, and again, it was before the internet, before YouTube, like, yeah, I was on AOL chat and, you know, stuff like that, but it's like there was no connection really, right? So I just had to kind of like dive in and be like, okay, so this is how you beat match, and this is how you connect speakers, and this is how you book a gig. And, you know, there was no one I could go talk to about that. And so I had always done that through high school. I recorded people. I put out like mixtape. Anyone who knows me, like anybody you come across in my life, this is the one thing. They'll say, what do you know Mike Hitt for? And they'll be like, oh, the dude who does music. Like, and from when I was a kid all the way to now, right? And back to that theme of like creating momentum, right? Is I wasn't thinking about doing MVP podcasts 25 years ago, right? Or being on any podcast or traveling or having clients in a public space. Like I was just thinking like, how do I make music now? Like, how does this mic work? Like, how does this beat machine work? Like, how do I just start to learn how this works? And so that's kind of like the preface to the car accident, in that I had always done, that was always a part of my life. I had people at my house. I was always recording people, charging them a couple dollars, you know, like just making a living, DJ, and then I would DJ college parties and college, like
that
St.
had to be
Patty's Day.
awesome. That had to be awesome for you, like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid at a college party, DJing. That had to be the shit.
And I carried myself like. Creativity and commerce has always like gone hand in hand for me. Like I know sometimes artists are like, well, I don't want to like charge for my art or something, but like very blessed that like early on I learned, hey, like if this is going to be sustainable, you have to respect your time that you're giving them, right? And so you're charging, but it's not just about the charge, which also makes me or anybody doing it, the creative, respect their payment, right? So then like I want to give them the best me, right? Like it was never about the bottom line. It was like the bottom line was a part of it, but I always like wanted to walk away and them go, I want to book you again next week. You know, I want to work with you again in like a month. Like I knew how important that was to like give that same value that they were giving me, right? Mm-hmm. So that went on for a while. And in my teen and then late teens and then early 20s. And then there was a time there where I kind of let public opinion of family, again, like we were talking about earlier, get into my head about like, you need a job, you need benefits, you need security, you should go work in a steel mill, like, you know. And I'm just like, and this is like 2007 probably, right? And I'm like, man, I'm like, okay, like, and I come from nothing. Like I was homeless. I had to build up everything from scratch. And so I went and got like my CDL, right? And I was like, okay, like maybe the music thing I could do on the side, and I could DJ and I could record people on the side, but I'm gonna go get a job that pays like really good. I had just started working this job. It took me 6 months to get my license because it was like so hard for me to pass these tests and study. I was always bad in school, so I had to like really learn and like hands-on drive and put my 100 hours in, right?
Yep.
I had been driving now like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I was coming home one morning on like a break at like 8:30 in the morning, and I hit head on with another car, like wasn't paying attention to where they were going. I was in my lane. I was doing what I was supposed to do. It was early morning. We were the only two people on the road. Wow. There's a like giant space. You could be anywhere doing anything. And like, you want to bother me coming home in the morning. Like, and so I get in that car accident and I had to learn how to walk again. I kind of like shattered like my pelvis and like hip area. Ooh. And so I had to get like reconstruction in here. And I had like 6 months down to kind of think about my life, honestly. And so I'm a weed smoker, right? So like I'm smoking weed, I'm on my ass from January until June, and then I go back to work in like August, and I go back to work, and they're like, oh, you've been off so long that we have to give you a new drug test. And I'm like, why wouldn't you tell me this?
Give
right?
a man
like,
a heads up.
Same as I got the job, I quit smoking for a year to get the job. I would have quit smoking to get back in the job after I was off my injury. I'm like this. With pain, with blood thinners. Like, of course I'm going to sit and smoke weed. I've got nothing better to do. Right. But in that time, like 3 months in, like probably like March, my buddy Evan, and I always give thanks to Evan, he had this space, right, with like a band. And he was at my house one day and he was like, hey man, there's a space. I think it would be cool like to put, you know, if you want to go in with me, they're about to leave, you can like record in there, do a space, like a recording space. And like that was when I was still down. And then when I found out I wasn't going to have the job anymore, that was like the clicking piece where I was like, I'm not supposed to do that job. Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to run a recording studio. This is why I've been doing it since I was 13, learning the basics of even just working with other artists and people and Pro Tools and how all this stuff works. And I'm like, I just acquired all of this knowledge and I was about to throw it out to acquire this new knowledge. When in reality, I just needed that to now roll over into the new era of what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so that is how the studio came about, because as soon as I came in here, it was like all guns blazing, where I just wanted it to succeed, you know. So I was like, at that time, you know, so it was before, you know, this sounds crazy, but before Twitter. So like at that time, I'm like figuring out like how to get more presence, like going to shows, doing beat battles, meeting with other artists, going to other studios, like trying to like figure it out, you know. And that is kind of like a great 360 into, like I say, I do like the coaching now. And it's like, I wanted to kind of even walk away from this, but I was like, no, I'm like, I had to learn my lesson that I have to take this information and roll it over into the next era of my life. And that next era is like coaching people, teaching, like do it. Like I know a lot of people do like YouTube teaching, but now it's like, I have the credentials, like the paper trail to do it, and someone be like, who the hell's this guy? And then be like, oh, like that's this guy who did that stuff, you know? So now that's you know, that's how the studio came about. It came about in a whole God moment where he was like, I put you here to do this. And now 13 more years later, which feels like, I always say, like, I feel like I'm like 25, maybe 20, 18, still. Like, even in my, like, physical move, and I don't know if it's from, like, working with a mix of, like, younger and older people, or, like, the stress-free environment, or, like, just my own outlook, or what, but it's, like, I still feel like I have, like, 500 more years in me of like doing and building and creating something. And so the best thing I could think of now is that rollover into like coaching, to where like maybe in 13 more years someone will look back and be like, yo, he said this to me, he helped me do this, he taught me this, you know. So it's funny how you get older, and you guys will get older too, where like you just, I've always liked to teach. Even when I was younger, I was kind of like the dad among my friends. Like, dude, we're going to get in so much trouble. We're going to go to jail. Like, letting them know, keeping them out of trouble.
You need a dad in a friend group, though. You need to. Like, I think I also was the dad in the friend group, too, where everybody's like, let's go jump off this roof into the pool. And I'm like, I'm gonna sit back here.
Yeah.
Like I'll call the police. Like I'll call, not the police, geez, the paramedics whenever this happens, you know. But oh man, I think you brought up a really good point too, though. Like you still feel young, and I think it speaks to a lot of things that people do. Like whenever they do things that they love, you feel younger because like what you're doing right now. I mean, like
it doesn't even feel like work.
Yeah,
it's just like I'm having fun today.
Yeah,
you know?
Even when it's bad, it's good. You know, like that's another thing is. It's not always fast. You know, I'll go a week where I won't have no session or nothing. But then you wake up the next week, like you hit me up and was like, it came out of nowhere. I got to reschedule the podcast, right? Yeah. Where it's like, hey, like this week now I have 10 jobs, you know? And so it's like, I also try not to get lost in those waves of, which comes with experience, lost in the lulls of like stuff to do. And I kind of use those lulls to do other things, right? And because I know that it'll come back around. So it's maybe I'll go to the gym more that week. Maybe I'll go away. Maybe I'll hang out with a friend I haven't hung out with. Because I know as soon as the phone rings, now I'm in here another 2 weeks. You know?
Right.
But even still, none of that feels like work, really, right? It all keeps me feeling just youthful, insanely youthful.
That's like one of the biggest things I've learned in the freelance space, or like the working on your own business space, is like embracing the lulls, because you get momentum for a while and you're like, oh, I'm killing it, like this is crazy, making a bunch. Then you get to
that first lull hurts, doesn't
and
it?
You're like, shit, like
yeah, you panic a little bit. You're like, my life's over.
Especially with creatives too. Like you guys are both in like the creative space, and like I mean. I think it's a challenge for creative people, but then you have to realize like I'm a creative person. I need like a creative little break.
Yeah.
And like it kind of resets yourself.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to embrace, because like you said, the first time or two, and honestly this winter's been a lull, but after it's been like record busy up until December, and then it was just like
yeah, you just like flew on 2 trips to Indiana and then down to Arizona casually. He's like, bro, I got to reschedule the podcast. I'm going down to Arizona. I'm like, do your thing, Josh. Like, that's crazy.
That's what I told him. Do your thing, because I know that's another thing I've learned, and I'll be like, man, because like, you know, things happen and we will circle back around, you know?
Exactly. And here we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? What inspired the name MCM Studios, Middle Class Millionaire?
So I said it in a verse that I said in like 2006 in like a song that I did, and I was like, I'm the middle class millionaire, and then like that like rang in my brain for like so long. And then I had something called like So Berg shirts, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make So Berg a byproduct of MCM. And I'm like, okay, I love this, like especially being from Pittsburgh, this like it's like all encompassing for me, like MCM, in that with the middle class, it's like you have the poor middle class, you have the middle class, you have rich middle class, and so we're all kind of like in this like pen together, right? All coexisting together. And it was just kind of like the saying is, no job too big, no artist too small. Like I just wanted that. I wanted that like
fire, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry to interrupt.
I just wanted that like that how do I say this? I just wanted it to be like all inclusive in that, hey man, like you you might be at the top, but you know, this guy at the bottom could be the top, and you're at the top, you could be at the bottom, and just love life, live rich, like never lose sight of the reality of things, in that like it's all kind of a blessing, right? Like love life, live rich. You could be here, you could be there, but we're all kind of like in this together, essentially.
100%. Especially when you're in like the middle too. Like I think about like middle class people and like how they work, and like everybody, I think they get stuck in the cycle. But like you said, like live, what was it? Love life, live rich. I mean, like if you do all that and you're still in the middle, like I think your life's pretty good.
Yeah. Yes.
You know.
Yes. And
like,
we'd all love to be billionaires, right?
Yeah.
And like, but it's like, hey man, if I got my needs, if I got people hitting me up, say, hey, let's do a podcast. If I got friends saying, let's go out on Sunday. If my rent's paid, it's like, for me, that's like living rich, you know, even more than like pulling up in a Bugatti or whatever. Like, especially now, social media age, everything is like show more, show bigger, show flashier, but it's all just another show to just kind of suck you in, right?
Right. How about I saw, speaking of like living rich and funny with like the stuff, is there's a plane that you can rent for an hour or 30 minutes or 20 minutes. I forget what it is.
I've
to
seen
take
this.
to take pictures.
Oh yeah.
And essentially like flex like you're on a private jet.
Yeah.
Right, to get the PJ pics.
It's crazy.
That's nuts, man.
And the sad part is like if it's one influencer or something like that and they post that up on IG, it's like everybody believes it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy how I think in 40, 50 years we'll look back at our generation and see how much social media changed it.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride, and it gets even more wild every day. But just stuff like that, but also just being sucked into it and chasing the hits of the dopamine.
Yeah. And you learn too, like it's like I'm saying about even like my own journey, or telling artists to start to create the momentum, because and with the laws, it's like even when I have a law, I'm doing good, because it's like I was able to like learn how to create stability, learn how to strengthen the foundation, like and when you're just doing it for the show of it, it's like it's very fragile, you know. Your reality is very fragile, you know, and my reality is not very fragile, actually. Like it, you know, I'm not, you know, knock on wood, you know, but it's like it would take a lot to like really stop me in my tracks. It would probably take another car accident or something like that, because I've learned how to, like, all the ins and outs of continually making it work. It's like you staying in contact with, you know, certain clients, and, you know, they'll hit you up when the time's right, and, you know, all that stuff. And not just like when you show a clip of you working with the Steelers or something, that's not just to make them think you do that. No, that's what you actually do every day, you know? And so like, it's different when I wake up as like really who I am. It's not like just on my Instagram, you know? That's like I was talking with my girl. I'm dating someone new, and she's like fantastic, and that's what she says. She's like, you know, after I got to date you, I got to see that like this is like really your life. You know, like who you are is really who you are. Like you really like a man of your word. You are really like someone who like helps people out, or, you know, you really do fucking give to charity, or whatever the case may be, you know? And it's like, and she had always watched my social media, and I think of how many people probably watch my social media and like might think, or anyone's, you know, and they're like, for some people they're getting duped, right? And like for me now, because they've been duped, now they look at me like, oh, he'll probably don't do that. But then we get to meet, and it's like, oh no, like that's really
You're cool.
your life.
It's a shock to people.
It is a shock.
And it's a shame that it's the way it is.
Yes.
You know? And you're like, what the hell?
Yes. Like, I want you to just, like, I did all this for you to still question me for, like, an hour when we meet. And then you're like, no, this is real. Holy shit.
Like, I'm like, man. I'm like, oh, he got me. Like, this is good. This is good. But, like, take us through the beginning, man, whenever you were first getting clients, because I'm interested in that. Like, how does that process start for you? And what were some of the challenges?
So, I mean, again, pre-social media, right?
Yeah.
Like the first couple years at least. I mean, as soon as I had the opportunity to have a website, I did. As soon as I had the opportunity to have social media, I did. But in the beginning, remember, I was recording people at my house, and and people knew me for that. So in the beginning, I was able to open up and have like 24 clients, and that would be like enough to kind of like keep the bills going, like keep the stuff on, right? And really, again, like I said, by offering that value to every person, and then every person leaving and being like, yeah, like he really helped me out, or it sounds good, or it just kind of like it's like you plant in your garden, and eventually you don't even have to tend to it anymore. It just keeps growing, right? But in the beginning, it's like very vital to like put it in a wet paper towel, let it sprout, get it in good dirt, like make sure the water and the sun mixture is right. You know, in the beginning, it's very. All I had to do was make sure that I did every job as if it was my last job. Rather than like, I got this studio now, I'm the man. You know, I don't even do that now, which is crazy. Like, I'm still like, how do I get bigger clients? How do I get new clients? How do I improve my web presence? How do I improve my like personal delivery to people, like how I'm speaking, my mannerisms, like when I say things to certain types of clients, they react in this way, right? You know, so I'm like always trying to like adjust and improve myself. And in the beginning, it was on like 10x, you know, because every client was like a new, like I had learned like 100 things, like every session where, oh, they're like this is like that. Pro Tools does this. It doesn't like when I do that, you know? And so in the beginning, it was just about the value, like really like just giving myself to every person. And then when they would fade off, you know, someone would come in and be like, hey, my cousin recorded with you, you know? And then now I'm recording. It's crazy. I'm recording people's like kids whose dads came to me. And
That's
now they
awesome.
have a kid who's like, you know, their kid might have been like 5 or 6. And now they're 15, 16. They're like, my dad used to record with you. And now they're starting a journey with me. I'm like, this is crazy. And that's all just from a result of just, again, giving that value, like being like my client, like he knows, like me and Ev text, we talk regularly, like even outside of music, just about like life and God and all that stuff. And a lot of my relationships with my clients, I've been to my clients' weddings, I've been to clients' funerals, you know, like
your friends,
sucks. Friends, I've been to their babies' births and just like their lives, a part of their lives, you know. And that's
what makes it.
That's even bigger than the money. That's bigger than like saying I'm Mike Hitt at MCM. Like to just like see Josh and maybe a Steeler game. Be like, oh, what up? Oh, I got extra beer. Like, you know what I mean? Like just like that is really why you do it. Like my buddy, there's a kid I record, Lil Lenny, and like I noticed that I've become like kind of like a role model to him, you know. And it's like now I know like his family, I know all his friends, and he was just a kid who came to me by himself. And now off of like a Groupon or whatever that I had. And it's like now he's enriched my life in this, like takes me to the games and takes me out on a boat with his dad. And it's like, dude, it's like once you make the connection that's so much bigger than the money, like then I can just like just again give my best self to you to give my best, so they know like, no, every time he's here he's going to give his best. And that's kind of the long-winded version of how even I kept clients and how clients kept coming. And then one thing after another. I mean, once you get over, I've had about 800 paying clients, right? Like they're the ones who pay. And then usually they'll bring people anywhere from like one other person, like their mom or their girlfriend or something like that, up to like I've had crazy to believe I've had like 20 people in here, like all just like blowing it down, smoking, drinking, music blasting. But it's
just
like,
core memories too that I'm sure that you've remembered. You're like, damn, like you're like, please be quiet, but this is cool at the same time.
Cool
like I'm trying to figure out what's going on. You know, I'm trying to listen.
Yeah, so thousands. I mean, I've had thousands and thousands of people in this room, and you can kind of feel that being in here, right? Like, like there's an energy even beyond me in here. I'm the battery pack to get it going, but even when I come in here by myself, I'm like, whoa, I'm like the stories.
Oh yeah.
You know, the experiences, the lessons I've learned to just make me who I am today is intense.
Yeah. To me, it seems like to be truly good at what you do in the recording music space, you almost have to be more than a music producer. You have to be like kind of just a listener and a therapist and a coach. Because I think a lot of people that come in here, they have the music to record, but they also need advice about more than just the music, about their life and about everything. It's almost like a barbershop kind of. You get
it is
100%.
Yeah,
it is.
You know? Like,
it's that dynamic.
They need a safe space to grow. You know, and I tell every artist that comes in before we work, if they're a new artist, I say it's a judgment-free zone. Be comfortable, make yourself at home. There is no messing up. We're just trying to get the record where it needs to be. You know, and when you create that comfortable, just like welcoming space, I mean, again, Josh has seen it so many times, you get such a good result. But and again, you're a therapist, you're a coach, you're a music producer, you're curating an experience in the studio. And I've been to studios. There's another thing. I was the artist who went to studios, and I thought to myself, like, even before I opened this studio, I'm like, they're so sterile, they're so cold. Like, whoever the engineer or producer was, like, they're just like, hey, like, okay, like, you got your beat, like, and then you do your stuff, and you're like, you like it, cool, man, here, like, and it's just, and unless I'm the cool kid in the room, like, I'm not cool enough. And for me, everyone who comes in here is like the coolest person to me, just because, like, you found me. Like, I just had a guy in here from Cleveland, and he was like, you know what, he stopped me in a session, he was like, you know what's crazy? And I was like, what? He was like, I just found you out of nowhere. And I was like, yeah, it's cool, ain't it? And he was like, yeah. He was like, so now it makes me think of how many other people just find you. And I'm like, thousands. I'm like, and it's like the coolest thing every single time.
Yeah.
It's never not cool.
Right.
To just meet a new person and to like absorb whatever it is, and you can absorb from me, and then we can go back out into the world, you know?
Energy attracts energy, man. When you have good energy, people want to be around it.
Yes.
And that's the thing. I mean, I can only imagine like the initial days of like rapping and recording and like trying to record like so you did rap previous to
rap, sing, make beats. It all started with my cousin when I was like 14, when I first got my turntable, showed me how to take an instrumental off a vinyl and an acapella and then like make them one song.
Whoa.
And it's like the moment that I did that and I realized, oh, like these sync up, I was like, and it was like endless. And then I bought like a very little sampler that had like 3 seconds of sample time, and I would like clip like clip the kick off something, then clip the snare off something, and then even the first time I was able to go, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, okay,
I'm Yeezy. I'm Kanye West in the studio.
And so then I've made, even now I have hundreds of unreleased songs. I even make music now, rapping, singing, spoken word, instrumentals, lo-fi albums, collaborations where like I'm constantly like just feeding that creativity, because I also get to learn, you know, like mic presence and distance and a pronunciation and enunciation and songwriting. And so it's like, artists sometimes say to me, like, how do you know how to make my song how I had it in my head? And I'm like, because I also make songs. So like I kind of have an idea of where you're trying to get. The only difference is the voice and the beat. You know, and maybe you have some basic songwriting. Maybe I can help you like boost that up. Maybe make the chorus like a little catchier. Maybe we can like add one sound into it that kind of like separates the sections, you know? So it's like, but that all came from me also making music. And you have to make enough music to say, I'm not that good at making music, you know? And so like I got over that hump where I was like, no. Now I see like really what makes you like a song, what makes a song stay in your brain, what is pleasant to the ears, like what we want more of, you know, what speaks to the spirit, right? And that all just came from, again, making it. Yeah.
I listened to that one song you got on your Instagram, the link to your YouTube. Yeah, that was pretty fire though.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, so I
really good too.
I like that song.
Thanks.
You know? So I give you like people definitely like it because I was like, I like this song. It's fire. So keep making music, man. Like I mean, Ian still produce obviously, but I mean, it is a good point.
I love that you said that because I'm kind of like in that time in my life where I'm like, do I want to make songs and put them out more? So thanks for the encouragement.
Of course. Do you think that because I think of like the best producers ever, right? So like, I don't know, Dr. Dre, for example.
Kanye.
Yeah, they all made their own music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's a disconnect whenever people don't make their own music?
Yes, absolutely. I think there's the more that you can connect to the process of making music, I think the better producer you can be. And so if you can make music, not only make music, but make all types of like music, right? Not just rap, but try to get into like everything. And then also listening to all types of music. You know, Dr. Dre's, a Kanye's, a Pharrell's, to anyone who's that big who makes their music, they also listen to everything from every genre, from every time period, because there's things that like you can't learn just listening to Yeet all day. Just listening to Playboy Cardi all day. And that's fine, but it's like that is like the view. But as a music producer, you need, if you want clients especially, you need as wide a view as you can get, because I'll record in here Afro pop, reggae, country music, rock music, opera music, audio books, rap, pop, soul music. It's like that all came from just like me also creating it, also listening to it, and now like I'm able to really like expand like who I can even work with, how I can even make money.
That's big. What was who are your early inspirations, like early on? Like, did you have a particular role model that was like,
ooh, that's a good one.
Doesn't even have to be music related.
No, what's funny? I'm glad you said that. All of my people, because sometimes people try to hit me with who's your top 5 favorite rappers dead or alive, or who's your favorite producer, and it's like, and who's your inspiration? They always think it's going to be someone in music, and it's always like every step of the way. Like, for instance, my high school football coach, right? He was I would leave practice early to go get ready for DJ gigs. And I remember him saying, like, you'll never start on this team leaving an hour into practice in a 3-hour practice. And I was like, that's okay, because I'm not going to play football my whole life. I'm going to do music my whole life. I already know this. And he was encouraging of it. And I remember when we had like our senior dinner, and he was like, this kid, who knows? He might be the next Howard Stern. He might be the next, pulling whatever he knew of. And I could tell that he was so like, he saw that in me. But he also saw that I really appreciated like the discipline and the experience of like playing football. So it's like, again, I come from poor background, so I had to work a job. I was doing music as my passion. I was playing football, and it was like that was like one person who just really kind of like inspired that, and then like my cousin teaching me how to beat match 2 beats, like these are people and like moments, like these moments you never think about it. Here's a flip side of that, right? Is like some people don't realize that they are how they are from a bad moment, where like their mom at like on a Tuesday at like 7:03 when they were 7 years old was like, that singing sounds funny that you're doing. And now they never pursued singing the rest of their life off this like micro moment that like shot through their whole spirit and like planted again the seed, boom, and now the seed of like, you sound funny is growing like this, and hopefully the mother would follow up with like, hey, why don't you sing it like this though? I think you could eventually be a great singer one day. But instead being like, yeah, it sounds funny, and then just going back to her cooking, like those like micro inspiration moments that I get from people, I am so hyper aware of that. Like so many clients, I don't think, like Josh has said things and Ev has said things, and it's like I just really pull my inspiration. You saying like, I like that song, I think you should keep making music. Like, I don't really think like you really pay attention to how pivotal that remark was.
And people don't, like in the moment too, like you think about it, like think about all the shit that you say in like a day, and people don't realize the impact that they could have on somebody else's day, like that, and
positive or negative.
Yes,
yeah. I mean, it's crazy. People have those pivotal moments in their life, and it's like, wow.
Yes.
Just like you said, if you have that one moment of like doubt, and then you let it fester in your brain, and
the inspiration like can come from like any. It's like even.
I'm grabbing another Stoney's beer.
Yeah, grab me one too.
I'll take one too.
Yeah, it's even my buddy who like probably like 8 years ago, I never went to the gym. I always ran to play basketball, and he's like, you should start going to the gym. You start going to the gym, and I was always like putting it off, but he was so persistent about me doing that until it came to a point where one day he just took me to the gym with him. And that is now someone who, for the rest of my life, you're the person who, like, you inspired that, like you inspire me to do that. And so, dude, it's all around me. When you ask me, it's all around me.
I've been seeing a quote a lot lately, and it is basically, most people just need one person to believe in them in order for them to accomplish their dreams. Because that one person being like, yo, this is fire. Like, this song's fire. You need to keep going. Is all that extra push they need to get over the hump.
Yeah.
Keep doing things.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And I also don't think a lot of people have those people.
No.
Either. So they look, now with social media, they look for people on the internet, influencers and mentors and motivational speakers to be that person that's like, you got this.
Yeah.
It's fascinating when you think about it that way.
And sometimes, here's another thing, is like sometimes, like I'm down for all that, all the motivation, all the reels that have the music in the background and David Goggins talking, you know. But in a way, you know, sometimes one thing I realize is like there's so much inspiration at like the top, like you need the private jet, you need women are like this. It's like so up here that they need more of this kind of grounded, like, hey, like, just take a step today, and then maybe whenever that day comes, you will fly a jet. You will have a Bugatti. But it's like you got to take a step. You got to believe in yourself now. And when they come to the studio, that's what I do with every client. And I think, like, sometimes people be like, you're just telling me that because I'm paying for studio time. It's like, no, I'm telling you that because, like, I want that same thing in my everyday life, every day that I wake up, and which I'm fortunate enough to have that reinforcement of, like, hey, you're pretty cool, or hey, I like what you do at the studio, or like, hey, you did this, like that. I want that. So why wouldn't I give you that? Again, the value. It's pay me, not pay me. I'm still going to say to you what I like, don't like, and where I can inspire you to squeeze more out of your life.
Yeah. You brought up a really good point, too, and I think in my new gig, especially, like I heard a really good piece of advice, and it was, you're trying to hit grand slams. Start with a single. You know, like start with a single.
Yeah.
And like I think it's like a great point in your life, and like you think so much in your head and what you're doing on the day to day, and like you said, it's 2 steps forward, like each day. And I think people, like, if you don't come home with that home run hit, like people chalk it up as a loss. But like if you move forward, like you move forward with your day, and you're like, you go back to one part of your day where it's like, all right, that part was good. Like let's build on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
And like I think that's really helped me with like this new job that I've been starting, and like other things in life too. And like if you do that, you know, like sure, like that the rest you might have had a shitty day after that.
Yeah,
you know? But hey, if you had 10 minutes that were solid, hey, man, that's a win.
It's all just perspective. And kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, like you kind of have to take time to look back at certain points in your career, your life, and be like, these are the moments that I used to pray about when I was like 18 years old. Or this is what I thought about whenever this person told me this. And I'm literally living that now, especially in the lulls when you have more time to think about things. It can be easy to be like, oh, why am I not making $1 million this year? Like, why is nobody calling? But then you'll be like, well, I just did all this, which is exactly what I thought I never could do 5 years ago. So it's all perspective, and I love that quote about
I love that.
Just go for a single.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, like sometimes it's all you need. Like sure, you're going to have a home run opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
And like another home run opportunity could come, you know? And it's just like, don't get hung up if you might strike out, but like you could start with that single first.
Like even during the football season, you see like, I mean, there's games that, like the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, but there's games I can't even remember that they even happened, right? And that was just a day at the office for them.
Exactly. Like they had bad games at the beginning of the season. Everybody's like, the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs anymore. And then it's like, all right, watch Patty Mahomes and Travis Kelce come playoff time, man. And like it's like, all right, it's like single. Oh, we struck out a couple times here. Then it's like playoff time. Grand slam. Yep, and it's like game over. You know, like it's crazy.
Them steps, man.
I saw too with Mahomes. He just made a soccer team. Talk about stupid money. Like your off season, you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna get a soccer team.
Why not?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
What do most musical artists get wrong?
Oh wow, that's a phenomenal question. What do most music artists get wrong? I would say they probably more times than not get wrong not accepting themselves. Like they want to sound or be like this artist or that artist, and even if you could get really close to being like them, you're still not them. And the ones who get it right, they come in here and they are just so them that like they like are influential in a way they don't even realize it yet. Like even I'm around, I'm like, ooh, like I like your mannerisms. I like how you carry yourself. Like, and then you're rapping and you're just like, rather than being like, does this sound good? Like they just rap and they look at me like, I know you'll do your thing. It sounds great. Like they just like really embrace who they are, you know. And the more like the tighter the hug you can give yourself, right? I think like the better of an artist you really are. But the more you're like in your head and you're like, is this good? Well, does this sound like that? Is this like my favorite artist? It's like you're preventing that progress that we're talking about, that we're trying to get. So that's what they do wrong the most, is just not accept themselves.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, that's and I think too with like trying to make music, you hear so much other music where you're like, oh man, like he sounds really good, like I'm gonna sound like him.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but that isn't you. That won't make that won't make the cut. Like for you, you won't progress. Like you won't gain that traction because like you're not yourself. And I think of like everybody out there that's making music. Like I mean, you got Michael Jackson up here. You have Bob Marley. I mean, like everybody that is so influential at like
their 1,000 more.
Yes, literally. Like you could go down the list. Like everybody has their own sound.
Yeah.
Like and it's so weird how like humans we have to like pick that up.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh wow, he sounds different. I like the way he sounds. And it's crazy how many people do like find a way to still be different. I think like that'll go on forever.
Oh, hey, yeah. That's not bothering you, is it? If you need to turn it off.
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm chilling.
Yeah, I'm not picking it up in the headphones. I think we're
good.
I think we're good.
What's been the worst experience you've had with a client?
You don't have to name drop or nothing, but maybe an experience.
No, yeah. The worst experiences I have with clients are the clients who try to tell me how to do my job. And you came to me, and now you're telling me, like, I mean, they'll get so close as they damn near want to grab the mouse, right? And I'm like, why did you even come to me to begin with? Like, if you, hey, do this to my vocal. Can you add this to my vocal? Can you do that? Can you do this? And it's like the like control makes the creative process very unpleasing. And those are often artists that I like don't even pick the phone up for anymore because, and maybe I will in the future, like a year will go by, but they have to learn how to like kind of relinquish that control and not just be like, you know, we all had to do it. Like I did it, but I did it a long time ago to where like, even when I'm coaching artists, and Josh has seen this again, I love that Josh has been here so many times where, hey man, like if that's as good as you think you can do, then I'll let you do that. You know, like I'm not going to control it, but I'm going to try to squeeze the best out of you, you know, but at some
just
point,
like every good coach would.
Yes, I'm just going to let you. Yeah. Sometimes people leave and they go, why did you let me leave with that? They'll come back a few weeks later, a few months later. And I'm like, because that's as far as we could have got that day.
Yep.
You know, and now you understand that. And so let's go a little further. And the like enlightenment that comes from artists when they realize that moment, like, oh, you weren't just fucking me over. You wanted me to go like really understand what it was I did. Take some time, you know, and it's cool. Like, I get it. Artists sometimes like, fuck Hit, man. Like, he don't know. What the fuck does he know? But they eventually come back to me and they're like, my bad, bro. Like, you know how many times artists have apologized to me? Dozens. Where they're like, man, I know I got an attitude with you. Like, I know you just, now I understand what you were saying. It's kind of like a teenager and, you know, their parents, right?
Yeah.
And their parents trying to tell them the right thing and fuck you, you don't know. My friend's this and we're going to do this. And then in like 10 years, they come back with a beer with their dad and they're like, Dad, I'm sorry.
Right.
And their dad's like, you don't got to apologize. I already know you were a kid.
Yeah.
It was fine. You didn't understand.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Like, chalk it up.
Yes.
Chalk it up. Let's move on from it.
Yeah, yes.
That's cool. How hard was it for you at the beginning, I think, whenever you were trying to give advice?
Yes.
Like, I feel like that would be tough as a young producer or maker of music, like, to somebody that's coming in here. Like, that had to be a challenge.
Well, what was good was I had that, like, training grounds leading into a public space, right? So it was like, even at my house, like, I was very, like, because here's the thing. When you're the producer, I can only give you as quality, a step up of quality that you give me, right? Like, sure, I can mix the hell out of your voice and do all this, but it's like the better you can give me, the better it can be. And so my whole life, I've kind of been like, hey, give me one more take. Hey, let's change this word, you know? And so by the time I got in here, it was honestly, it was no problem, because I'm like, look, I just know that you need this perspective to get this result that you want.
Yeah.
And so I've always been adamant on, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm thinking. I'm not going to impose it on you. I'm not going to force it on you. But I really think that this is information you could use.
Right. We die on us. We get a camera go. Oh, all right. That's cool.
That's fine.
No, I agree, though, with you. Like, you like, it goes back to you have to get that extra out of people. Like, like I think back to, like, even like you brought up your football coach. Our football coach was notorious for that. The guys that were your Rudies, where you get the absolute, like, he motivated people to get the absolute most out of them.
Yes.
And essentially that's what you're doing here in the studio with, like, somebody that comes in, you see they have the talent. It's just, hey, one more take.
Yes.
One more take. Come on. And then that could be the one.
It could be, yeah.
It's crazy.
I've recorded a few songs. Like, that was probably going to be a question you asked me, I'm sure. Like, do you ever record what you think is like a hit record? And people ask me that all the time. I'm like, you know what? I record a hit record probably like once a week. But the moving parts in a hit record are so much more than just a good song. But for the most part, at least once a week, I'll record a song where I'm like, I want the whole world to know about this, like, artist, this song, this, like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Have you ever walked in with, like, has somebody ever walked in here where they left and you're like, that dude's
often.
Like, that dude's going to be
that dude's going to be something. And even if they don't become something, again, becoming something, we've had this conversation in the studio before, is so much more than even the person you are or the song that you make. It's like your team, it's your promotion, it's your marketing, it's your timing, it's your finances. It's like so many things.
Right.
And so sometimes guys leave, and, like, I have that feeling in my heart where I'm like, man, like, I wish that I had the resources to make you famous, because, like, that song is so good and you are, like, such a unique artist. But it's like, at the end of the day, I'm, not just, but, like, I already do 10 things. Like, I'm the producer, I'm the coach, I'm a piece of the team, and so, like, I could tell you all day how sick you are, how sick the song is. I could mix it to hell and back. But it's like, if we don't have the other moving parts, it's just another great song that I know about.
The industry is crazy.
I know.
It's so, it makes you wonder, all the songs that were that good. And, like, Mike Hitt is a phenomenal producer. But think about every other producer in the country and how many other good songs that they've listened to. But, like you said, it didn't have the legs to make it.
Or
and
the resources to give it legs.
Yes.
Even, know?
Exactly it. And it's like, it's crazy that you still, even though, like, we have the social media, the ability to stream things, you still need that power.
Yeah, it's still so hard.
Yeah.
So competitive. It's almost luck in a way.
It is, dude.
I hate to say that.
I hate to say it, yes.
It's like you hit the lottery, and
in a way,
your song blew up on TikTok, and now it's like, oh, now all your other songs are out there.
Yes.
Like, so social media is really great for that, obviously. So before that, it was even worse. Because if there was no internet, imagine how hard it would be to
you had to
go to the radio, I guess.
Well, no, I would go, actually, I would go to the mall and I would sell my tapes to people, and I would be like, hey, you got a second? Put these headphones on. And here's another thing.
It's a sample. It's a little sample.
This is something that has really, like, calloused my, like kind of, like, not caring what people say about me, right? Because imagine you're face to face with somebody and they put your headphones on, you play your tape, and they go, "This fucking sucks. You should fucking quit." And they walk away from you.
You get thick skin real quick.
Yeah. But then on the flip side, someone's like this, and they're like, "All right, here's $10. I'll take one." And you're like,
"Whoa,
fuck."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I would go home. Like, I would go to the mall right after school, and I'd be at the mall from, like, 4 till they close, like 9 or 10, and I'd come home with, like, $200. And my mom would be like, "Where the fuck did you get this money?" I was like, "Selling tapes." And she's like, "What the fuck?" Like, and then I'd give her the money because she had a credit card. I'd be like, "Hey, order me these records, order me these speakers, order me this stuff." And that's another thing. I was always
You're reinvesting.
Always. Even today, I reinvest. Like, there's always something new I buy for the studio, or maybe I buy a course, or I buy like an outfit for my brand, or like I'm always that's a great piece of advice. Like, always reinvest. Like 30% of your money, if not half of your money, back into new cameras, new lights, plane tickets to travel more. Like, that's just going to get you so much more. And again, we're in this like, we're not in it in this micro moment. We're trying to like live our whole lives in what we want to do. So like, you have to do that to do that.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about your posting on social media is every now and then you'll drop some finance wisdom or like some stuff. You're like, oh, like that's smart.
Yeah.
People need it.
Like,
people need it.
Robinhood and like dividends and like, because I never realized, we probably talked about it during school and stuff, but that you could basically just like invest in certain things and you get the dividends back out.
Yeah.
And it's like, once you get to a certain point,
it's just paying for your
free
life.
money.
Yeah.
Every year, like pretty much guaranteed.
Exactly. Dude, Robinhood, it's funny you brought that up. When Robinhood came out, I shared the like free stock link. And again, this was when Robinhood was like new. And I'm telling people, because I'm new in investing, this is probably like 2019. And I'm like, hey, you know, like use this. I wound up getting like over 100 free stocks, which would be like about like $800 in like free stock through like sharing that Robinhood link and me explain that to people. And I meet people now who will inbox me and be like, dude, that Robinhood link you shared me like 4 years ago, now I own like 1,000 shares of that stock, or I get this much dividend every month. I just want to thank you for putting me on to that, you know?
And you're like, yeah, man, of course.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like that stuff's so important, and it's so like can be very complicated, I guess, when you're just looking at it as an outsider.
Yeah.
So that's what I always love whenever you drop stuff like that, and just other wisdom about life as well, too.
Because I'm still trying to figure it out, too. Like I said, no one taught me about money. Like, I didn't know what to do with any sort of success that I had. I didn't know what to do with that. I had to learn what to do with that. You know, when you go out and someone realizes who you are, like I had to learn how to respond to that. You know, and when I came up on, you know, $1,000, like I had to learn what to do with that. No one was like, I think you should do this. I think this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. And so it's like, whenever I can, I just want to share that information that worked for me. And a lot of times, again, we live in a world where people are like, fuck that. Like Ev, great story with Ev, who records at me.
Let's hear it.
Ev, and tied into like him saying the advice that I give. Ev said he came to his first session back here, which was like 2 years ago, a year ago, whatever. He was like, man, when I was getting sober and stuff, he was like, I would watch your videos of like giving advice in life, and he told me too. He's like, I would say, man, fuck you, man. Like, fuck this guy. What does he know? This and that. And he was like, and one day you said something, and I was like, yeah. And he said, and it just like clicked, and it changed my life. But how many times did he have to say fuck you to eventually be like, dude, you were just trying to help me the whole time. Holy shit, you were just sharing your experiences. And now we're like this because of that. Again, the value, this is a great theme of this podcast, the value I was giving, that it wasn't a portrayal on my social media, but like really how I'm living my life. And like when you're like that, it has no choice but to eventually penetrate someone and be like, whoa, this is actually like really good advice. And so I live for that. I live sharing that. And even though sometimes I have my days where I'm like, man, why don't I have 1 million followers? Like, I can't understand like how to like get that snowball going, but I still make the effort. I still post every day. And I know that one day that day will come. But that's why I share the information more than anything, because again, just like I'm helping artists in here, that's the same thing I want. I want to go somewhere and read something and be like, oh, that changed my life. So I could hope I could be the person they read and be like, you changed my life. Like that. I love being that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like having the, just the consistency factor of it. Like even us with this podcast too, it's just like have people on that tell that story and you know, that share that message, and you just like keep doing it, you know, because you never know whenever that might connect with somebody.
Yeah. That's the best part about this podcast, is just meeting a bunch of different people that have so many different stories and have so much different advice, and most of them all have a similar mindset of we're trying to get it, we're trying to help each other and improve life in general. So that's been a really cool part of the podcast that we just started just for shits and giggles one day.
Yeah.
Literally for fun with one mic around the table.
Like,
that's my favorite story, dude, of this podcast.
It
was one mic and everybody was like screaming up. I was like, my name's Alex.
I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
Yeah. It was great though. It was like iconic. We were in like the middle of like a college like room, and then there's a mic in the table, and then it's like, all right, now we get something off a marketplace. Like we're stepping up in the world.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we've had some pretty awesome people on. I mean,
it's been fun. It's been fun so far.
You've had some great settings too.
Mm-hmm. All over the place.
We appreciate that, man. We tried to.
Tailgate of his truck.
MCM
Studios. We were at McConnell's Mills in the waterfall, pretty
by
much.
The fire.
By the fire.
Yeah.
We've been all over, and
we mix it up.
We kind of have learned to love going to the different places and like changing it up versus doing it in one place every time.
We're the nomads of podcasting.
Yeah, just exploring.
When you said do it here, I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, it's such a cool like vibey spot. Like I think it really and people are a lot more themselves too, like when they're in their space.
Yes.
That's the big thing. Even like when we go to like a studio, I think like even as myself, I mean this is a studio, but like the studio that we go to sometimes like we can kind of be like a little uptight, you know, versus like you're just kicking back.
You're just like yeah, we're out building a fire in his backyard.
It's absurd. You have no other choice but to be chill. Yeah. Dude, I think I was like 6 beers deep. I'm like, man, I'm in the zone. I'm in the pocket right now.
Man, we recorded for 3 hours back.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, it's pitch black. I don't even think the cameras can see us right now.
That was a really good episode, actually, because you could hear like just people like yelling out in the field. Like we're up in New Wilmington, like middle of nowhere.
Out there, man.
And the Amish are all around us and everything. And somebody had like a party going in the field.
Banger. Like an absolute banger. And I remember it because as soon as it got dark, we were sitting around the fire. And then we all had our headphones on, so we really can't hear. And then
I'm like,
oh.
It's like,
yeah. And somebody's like, oh.
You just hear people like yelling.
Yeah.
Off
like,
in the distance,
oh my
we're like,
gosh.
somebody has a party out there in the field.
Amish paradise.
Literally. Exactly it. And like they're going absolutely crazy, and we're like, all right. Yeah. It's like we're just gonna keep going. You hear them like screaming, like Indian yelling, like oh, Native American yelling, I should say. Oh,
midsummer. Like, it was really a sacrifice going on. You didn't realize it.
Like, all right, just stay here around the fire. Stay here around the fire. We're good.
That was a great episode. Though. So we love doing that, just switching it up and changing it up.
You gonna try to reach 100 episodes or what?
Oh yeah,
definitely. We're gonna be like Rogan. We're gonna get like 3,000 episodes.
Nice.
We're gonna keep it going. I mean, it's just like we have these conversations already, right? So we're like, why not record it and why not grow our network and learn about different people? So we're trying to do 2 a month right now, and
nice.
Just spread the message.
Just to archive the stories, like it.
That's the thing,
be there forever.
Yeah, it's the thing. Like I think we'll look back at like the first initial start, and then look at the stories that we've like all heard, and like some episodes I go back and listen to, like this one for instance too. You go back and listen to it, and you're like, man, that was like a cool story.
Yeah, I think that's the best part. Actually, is like. I won't listen to them right off the gate, like when they're out. But like maybe a year from now, I'll listen to this episode and be like, "Oh, I remember we talked about this," or "Oh, I forgot we talked about that."
Everything weirds me out at first, right? Like I've learned this about myself. Like everything, photos, music, all that. I need to give it like a few weeks or like a month, and come back to it as if like I'm the viewer of it.
Yes, that's a great point. Like I think that's what anybody should do with anything they create.
Yes,
like if you paint something. Walk away.
Yeah.
And then come back. And then you look at things different.
Yes.
And I think so many people get in that rut where you're like, bang, bang, head off the wall, head off the wall, head off the wall, head off the wall. Like, I need to keep doing this. It's like, take a step back.
You ever hate a photo and then like you're just looking through memories like a year later your phone, you're like, why did I hate that photo?
Yeah.
And you're like,
that was
we
good.
all look
great. That was great.
We look awesome. Like
that's how I think about music though. I think about music. Like I'll listen to a Drake album. Yeah. I think
I hated it first. Yeah. And then be like, this I just said the other day, Drake albums age really well.
Oh, it's insane.
It's crazy,
insane. Dude. Views by Drake. It has like this core memory in my head where like I started, like, it was like high school, came out, I legally downloaded it on my Chromebook, was Views. I'm like, I'm getting this. And I sent it to everybody in the high school. And then I'm like, I go back to it, I'm like, damn, like this album like is better now.
Really? Yes.
It's better.
Yes.
It's better.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I think some of his other stuff like now, it like hasn't aged as well, like his newer stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, like,
but
still.
give him more time, right?
You got to give him more time.
Yeah.
You got to. Man. Crazy. What do you think about AI music? Getting back on the train.
I think that it's definitely going to be a thing. Like, I've played around with it. I've played around with the apps and the programs, and I mean, like the Photoshop instant fill, right? And then like they have the AI music where I want like an Afro pop beat and it just spits it out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will be the same as, say, like the microwave, where like people thought they were going to make like all their food in the microwave, but then they realized that, hey, we're still going to use a cast iron skillet. We're still going to want the human experience of like gathering around, cooking, you're chopping, you're spinning the pot, I'm kneading the bread, right? Like, but at first I'm sure the microwave was like, dude, chefs are done. Like
that is a great analogy.
That is
an insane analogy.
Or airplanes, like, oh, we'll never use cars now. We're gonna fly everywhere. Like, no, I still want to go on a scenic drive with my buddies.
Yeah, like people still need to be realistic.
Yeah,
the real part is you're still gonna want.
Social media, even the most recent example of that is like there's a time where, I don't need physical anything. I got social media now. But then like as time went on, we all realized like, all right, like we spent enough time in that idea that all we were going to do was talk to each other on a screen.
Get saturated.
Let's get together at the studio and film a podcast. We are human. So we are always going to gravitate back to the human experience, regardless of what is introduced to make the human experience a little more convenient, but it's still going to be about us. It's still going to be about this at the end of the day, drinking a Stonies, just like hanging out, telling my story. And until there's like, it's probably going to be a long time from now. I can't even think of a time where this isn't going to be just as important as the AI, as social media, as microwaves, as airplanes, as, whatever.
Yeah, you need that social experience. You need the social experiences, and like
we're tied to this.
It's so true that no matter what, I think like humans do, they gravitate back to other human activities.
Mm-hmm.
When a human's doing something cool.
Yes.
When a human's doing something great, you're like, man, like I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Part of that. I want to be involved.
I want to be around them.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, 100%.
Which are some cool AI things. Like I said, I've done it. I've used it. It's been really cool. But then, like I said, like the depth of even saying like the AI, even the act of making, like being human with yourself, we'll say, right? Like even if there's nobody else around, I could hack it in my bedroom and bang out a bunch of AI beats. But eventually I'm going to be like, man, I just kind of like want to sit at a drum machine and I want to pick through samples and, I want that experience of like doing it,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if anything, it'll become a tool. Like
that's all it is.
Else. It's
a tool. Yeah.
And it'll be very dominant, in the headlines and everything for a while, but it's just kind of one of those things that we'll learn to live with and learn to use to better ourselves.
Yeah, like I have a whole house. My whole house is on a smart house system. Yeah, so I have like the 15-inch, like the Echo Show screen, like in my kitchen.
Oh yeah,
and then like I have
those are so dope.
Then I have a small one upstairs. I haven't clicked the light switch in my house in a year. I walk in my house, I go, hey, computer, turn on a bedroom. Hey, computer, unlock my front door. Hey, computer, pull up the pizza recipe, and, they pull it up. Like, I love it, but in the midst of all that, I'm still hanging with my girl, hanging with some buddies. Like, I'm still using it to enrich my human experience that's going on.
I think that's the key. I think everybody's worried that it's going to overtake that human experience, but if people can find a way to enhance that human experience, I think that makes it all the more, marketable and like people want to use it.
It's like it's like drugs too, right? In a sense where it's like, okay, smoking weed, I have to keep smoking weed for my life to be better rather than like using the weed as just like an enhancement, right? Or say even like, I don't, but it's people, you do a line or you do something, that's where you go like too far into the dependence, right? Alcohol, all of that, right? Mm-hmm. You go too far. It's the same thing.
It's like your cell phone.
Too far into the dependence. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's there to enhance, not to be you're not to be dependent.
Now I've learned to be like, no, this is done until I come back to it,
100%.
This is what I'm in.
100%.
Love that. What do you think is the number one issue with society today or with people?
Damn, man.
Get deep on you real quick.
That's how we like to do it.
Society.
Well, this is like a closer.
Yeah.
A closer.
I've said this many times, that everybody should work in a recording studio for a year just so they can have a little more compassion for people around them. Because, like me personally, right, I've recorded Russians, Indian people, Asian people, white people, black people, short people, tall people, trans people, gay people, like you name it. And so now I've become so like numb to like difference. Right? Like it's okay. Like you think you like Trump, you like Biden. Like I'm not going to go on this. Like I need to prove to you why you're wrong and you're right. Right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, this is like your unique thing, your unique way of thinking, like how you are. Right? Even if it's kind of offensive in a way, like I'm not like, man, fuck that guy. Like we just need to understand and at least give each other a chance to be understood more. Right? But again, you can't expect yourself out of other people, and it takes a certain level of life experience. Like you're on the field every day with so many people, you probably think about it the same way, or like you travel so much and you just see so much of the world that you're not like nitpicking like every person you see. Oh, your hat's funny. Oh, your shoes are funny. oh, they don't have enough money, or they talk funny, or their hair's funny. It's like, no, it's like, just fucking let people be like what it is that they are, and just like enjoy that moment of them, right? Rather than like trying to impose what you think they should be on them. Mm-hmm. You know, this is just who I am, and take it or leave it, and not in a rude way, but I hope that you take it more than leave it, and you take a piece of it for yourself, and you do that with every person that you meet. So the main thing is just understanding and giving people the space to be understood. And we will fight with that forever.
Forever.
That will never not. And again, be the change you want to see in the world. That's why I try to be how I am, and interact with my clients how I do, and be with you guys how I do, because it's like, at the end of the day, I've learned is like a lot of how my life is how I react and act in life itself, you know. So it's like, if you think that you get a lot of hate, maybe you hate on a lot of people, you know. And I think I get a lot of love. Yeah, you get some flack, you get some hate. That's natural, law of averages, like you said. But for the most part, I'm just kind of like being right.
Yeah, like take the positives out of things, and like if you get a lot of love, you reciprocate a lot of love. You know, like think of the positive.
Give what you want.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I cook for even something at physically being done. It's crazy. Like I would say, like, pay for my boy's lunch, right? Like we go to Sheets or something, it's $10. It's nothing crazy, right? Pay for my boy's lunch. You ain't got to do that. No, it's fine, dude. I got it. But then like a month later, he's like, no, I got it. You know, and that is like a more intense, direct like example of like, wow, like I didn't do that for you to do for me, but I see how that did for me by doing that.
And you reciprocated it. That was me and Josh when we first started, dude. Like I'm thinking about, we did the first podcast. I think we went on like the road somewhere, and I'm like, I got the first one. Then the next one, Josh like, I got the next one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're cool, man. Like it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And like you just people. I mean, you need that. You like just need people like you said, to be understanding and to be able to be understood.
Yes.
And
yes.
That's spot on. So spot on.
Yeah.
Love that.
I love it.
I think we close it out with one final question.
It's over already.
We can rip and roll, man. We can rip and roll. But dude, there's been some
questions.
Nuggets.
That's why I was like, I can't wait to hear what else he has.
What is your ultimate goal in life?
My ultimate goal in life is to live to 100 years old. I've said this every day, and I've said this when I thought of it like 8 years ago, and I shot a whole video for my social media, is I would like to live to a healthy 100 years old. And why do I say that? I say that because now that rewired my brain to like approach life in a long-term like fashion, where it's like now I treat every person, which not that I didn't, but I treat people even extra more kind, because like maybe in 20 years you can help me out. You know, not this month, not next year, maybe in a whole nother state I see you and you're at a party. and like I just walk by and you're like, hey, you want to come in? Oh, we shot the podcast, you know? And so, or money, like now I know to invest money and help people and also take care of myself, like drink enough water. And like, so like it forces me to live a life that like preserves my life. You know, and so by that thinking of like 100 is my goal. If I get past 100, that's great. Like if it's under 100, I miss my goal a little bit. What did I do wrong? But that really helps me just create a life worth living. You know, because when you think when you're young, like, oh, I could it's like I don't want to get old. Like, you know, like it's such a blessing to get every day, every year to even have a chance to where it just makes you not want to do wrong by people. It makes you not want to do wrong to yourself. It makes you want to keep learning because I'm like, dude, and it makes me not say, well, fuck AI, fuck social media, like the 90s were the best. Like, you know, like, no, now it forces me to like educate myself in a way that keeps me relevant even with myself so that I can make it to that goal of 100. And anything that happens in between, I'm cool with it. Famous, not famous, whoever I date, whoever I'm friends with, however much success I have or not success I don't have, anything that happens is just going to be a part of my experience of those 100 years. But I'm at the very least going to do my best to make the best decisions that's going to preserve me in a way that on my 100th birthday I could look back and be like, I was that person. I did it. I inspired all these people. I inspired myself. I had X amount of pets. I had X amount of kids, and I had like people. I did X amount of podcasts and X amount of clients, and it's like GTA when you look back, you finally beat it, and you can go through all your stats. You know, like I live to look back. I live to be older in a way, which is crazy. I live to say I lived that long. I did all those things, and it's like now I can be a testament to you eventually doing those things for yourself, regardless of whatever age you hear that at.
I love that.
I do.
That's why I like coming here. I love coming here.
I love having you here. Now I love having you here.
My man. Hey, it caught me by surprise at first. You're like 100, and then I'm like, all right. I feel like he's got something more to this. That makes sense, man. It does. It does. Live a life worth living, man.
Yes.
Like, and you have a finite time on this earth.
You do.
Make it count.
Love life, live rich.
Love life, live rich. MCM.
MCM, baby.
MCM. Yes. MVP. MCM.
We love it.
I love that.
Love it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
As always, great podcast.
Yes.
We got to do this again
whenever you want.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we both have 1,000 more topics to touch
a
on.
zillion.
Yeah.
2 papers don't do it. 2 papers don't do it.
No.
But we appreciate you, Mike, and thank you, man. And we're looking
MCM
forward to the future.
Studios, if you want to know.
Give a shout out.
MCM Studios. You could just Google it. It will come up if you want to book a session. MikeHitt.com, my first and last name, if you want to book coaching or any one-on-one advice. And MVP podcast. This is the 33rd podcast. It's so wow. Like the meaning of being on the 33rd podcast. I can't thank you enough. I thank God. I thank life for the opportunity to just be better than I was the day before. And I hope you do the same thing.
Amen.
Amen. Peace.
We out.
That was awesome.